hope we leave today with a renewed confidence, not only how we tackle the next impossible projects together, but with whom we do it with. So I'm delighted to be together with all of you, and thank you for spending this beautiful spring Atlanta day with us. Welcome to everyone. I must start with some thanks and recognition of who made this happen. This conference is its own improbable project. I want to begin by thanking my institution, the Georgia Institute of Technology, where I have had the privilege of serving as the Thomas Ventulet Chair of Architecture for the last 4 years. Georgia Tech is one of our hosts, and many of our students and faculty are amidst you. Ellen Bassett, our dean, welcomed us last night, and you'll be hearing later from our president, Angel Cabrera, about the role of the educational institution in reimagining the city it resides within. Thank you for hosting us today. When my department chair, Julie Kim, who you will also hear from today, asked me to consider hosting a symposium, one that would gather those shaping our world around us, bring people together, and forge new alliances, I jumped at the chance with some hesitation. I also maybe didn't know what I was getting into hosting a conference. As someone once told me, however, to solve the problem, sometimes you need to make the problem bigger. Maybe we've gone too big here. But honestly, seeing the room, seeing this energy, talking to all of you, seeing who's showed up, I don't know if we've gone big enough. We need things like this. So it's been a privilege to put this together, and I owe a lot of gratitude to those who have actually produced this event. So my friend and fellow traveler, Graham VC, is here with his team at North Water Partners. They've made so much of this happen. I want to thank Jeff Sewing, Allison Fleming, Brandon Pickens, and the team at Carlisle Volker and John Voorhes. You guys are pros, and we're grateful for what you have made possible in a very short amount of time. I want to thank my team at AMA, including Mackenzie Shinnick, Sarah Grunert, Tanya Paz, and in particular, Rich Friday and Chastain Clark. You've made the impossible possible, also in a very short amount of time. Thank you. We also have some exceptional funders that have made this happen. First to Perkins & Will and CEO Phil Harrison. When I asked Phil if he'd join us, he immediately supported with the weight of his whole practice. And in particular, thanks goes to Victoria Walsh for shepherding that process. They are an inspirational practice, changing communities around the globe, and they'll host us for a cocktail reception after our day today at their office. Thank you so much. Thank you to Shaw Contract Group, has been supportive of me for almost 20 years and introduced me to many things in Atlanta. To TVS Architecture and Design, this is Thomas Ventulet's architecture practice, and I hold the chair in his name. So I have many reasons to thank your firm and your work, from building Atlanta to sharing your vision internationally. To the Eames Institute, its director, John Carey, who are supporting designers, architects, and thinking in many scales of intervention. To Overstory Works, the Emerson Collective, and the Heartland Foundation, and its director, Rachel Levin, our lead sponsors. Thank you for believing in artists and creating the spaces and pathways to share their stories. You all have made this physical and conceptual space that we inhabit today a reality, so thank you. Finally, I want to thank and acknowledge this institution, the High Museum and the Woodruff Arts Center, who are critically important cultural anchors to the city and our nation. The campus, the role it plays in our beloved city, remind us to ask what responsibility our cultural institutions have in shaping the city around us and the culture that lives within it. The great Christy Edmonds, director of Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art, who's here and will speak later today, asked me this question in a slightly different way. She asked me to think bigger and ask how an art museum can architect an entire city. And she'll be sharing that story with us today. To the leadership at the High Museum, specifically Randall Suffolk, Monica Obniski, and Andrew Westover, who invited us here, thank you for taking this chance and linking two critical anchors in our city to show the world how we can be designed for all of us and collaborate. Thank you. So there is a lot happening all at once in our lives, so taking the day to be with us is no small feat, but sometimes those different things come into alignment. They vibrate. They create a harmonious sound. As the legendary cellist, composer, and musician Joshua Roman taught me, and who will share with us later today a unique composition, we know that dissonance is when sound waves are out of alignment, They make conflicting noises. Our ears can tell something is off. But the opposite of dissonance is not resonance, a term I was misusing. Resonance is the amplification of sound. Its volume gets richer when combined with other waves in alignment. No, the opposite of dissonance is consonance, an effect of a more harmonious resolution. So today I want to acknowledge that I feel a great harmonious alignment, a great consonance today, where many separate vectors have come into alignment to create something new, and we're amidst that. For example, one of the reasons this day is so special and timely is that it coincides with the exhibit on Isamu Noguchi, I Am Not a Designer, which opened last week and curated by Monica Obniski. A wonderful title that asks, as we are asking today, what is design and who gets to call themselves a designer? Noguchi is a spiritual steward of this conference, and in many ways he's a spiritual steward of me personally. And it's not just because my father-in-law used a portmanteau of Noguchi's name as our internet password for many years. He kind of kept Noguchi in the ether. Don't go to my house and sign on to other things. No, I would say at all these crossroads in my life, in dark moments and challenging ones, I've returned to the work of Noguchi to find new meaning, new purpose, new definition, to ask how we can break or reimagine the box we have been bound within and still see a light ahead. And when you see his work today on our lunchtime tour, you'll be able to tour the exhibit. I think you'll realize how big his imagination was and how many of his ideas are still influencing or designing, I don't know if you'd use that term, our world today. 2 years ago, my Georgia Tech students and I spent actually an entire semester studying Noguchi. We traveled to the Noguchi studio in New York. We then went to the Noguchi studio in Japan with venture-led funds. The studio is in Takamatsu, where some of his ashes are actually laid to rest. Then we visited the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park to see the memorials to the atomic dead and to consider what architecting memory means today and how it can shape us. The question of memory is one of my own architectural practice, and it has forced me to ask and contemplate over and over again, how is the space shaping me, and how can it shape me differently? Two pieces stuck out to me in the Noguchi research. Here are some images from Montgomery, some of which we'll see tomorrow. Two pieces stuck out to me in the research of Noguchi. One was this one. In 1947, Noguchi, this is 1947, designed a land art piece that was intended to be a mile by a mile square in the desert. So imagine this as a mile by a mile square. In the frame, built into the earth, was to be this enormous face, and the concept was that it was a face visible from space. He was asking us to look back at the earth from outer space. And this land art sculpture was meant to be one of the last things left on the earth after nuclear annihilation of the human race. A commentary on the nuclear bomb. Now keep in mind, 1947 was 14 years before the first space flight of 1961. It predated by 20 years the land art movement of Michael Heiser and Andrew Goldsworthy and others. So Noguchi was asking us to imagine a memorial to the human race from another planet, long after we were gone, and long before we saw the first images of Earth. It is a commentary on the design of our planet, decimated by atomic war. He was asking us to contemplate what our legacy truly is and what we leave behind, our immortality, if it were. It was also an artistic idea that would stand through what we might call generational time. I want to hold that idea, the scale of the planetary. Hold it up here for a second, the thing that's so vastly greater than any one of us, and how your idea might influence even that celestial scale. The artist Sam Stubblefield is here with us today and will be, if not the first, artist working on the moon, one of the first, thinking about this. And he's asking us to reconsider shaping other worlds through planetary artwork. It's what he might call a new interstellar humanism. We can hold that scale, that huge, enormous scale. Simultaneously, I'd like to hold the interpersonal scale, the inner space scale. Noguchi also worked in this realm of the interpersonal. He was commissioned at the same time to design a memorial to the atomic dead at Hiroshima Park, a cenotaph, he called it. The visitor would walk beneath the ground. She would read on this massive wall the names of those that died in the massacre, and the visitor would consider themselves. This is a very intimate, solitary experience. It asks the visitor, what will you do to prevent this from ever happening again? The cenotaph is about you, your own memory, and what transformative reminders, what guideposts in built space we might have that shape us to do better in the future. The outer space and the inner space, these two poles, we influence them and we design them. Noguchi never built the cenotaph or the land art piece because of who he was, his identity. He was thought too American for this Japanese memorial, one of innocent civilians murdered by an American bomb, but he also felt too Japanese at times to be fully American. He was like many of us, sometimes of conflicting identities. The topics he was wrestling with were timeless, but the politics of authorship were very time-specific. He was forced into an uncomfortable box. Spencer Bailey, a Noguchi scholar himself, will join us today to talk about some of these boundaries. And he'll be joined by other brilliant memorial designers of our world. They're here with us. Michael Arad, so happy you're here with us, known for the 9/11 Memorial and the new Charleston Memorial to the Emanuel 9 will join us, as will Gregory Thompson and Della Wilson, who are beginning the journey to imagine a new memorial to the Underground Railroad in America. They're here to walk through some of those very knotty issues, those timeless and those leaden with the politics of time. These unbuilt Noguchi pieces are about, among other things, what we leave behind, the traces that tell stories of us long after we are gone. They're about our legacy as human beings. They are about us. Do these prove we exist? Does our built legacy remind us we are human? Or is this a false idol of its own? And is the seduction of our immortality just that, an Icaran ambition keeping us from living a better life today? My friend, the physician and palliative care doctor, B.J. Miller, has really helped me think about this seduction, and he will contemplate this idea with us later this afternoon. He reminded me of this universal dichotomy, how we see ourselves and how we are seen by others. It is a vibration. It is this vibration of me to we. The philosopher Martin Buber called this the I-thou mindset. I exist because of a relationship to something greater than myself. I exist because of you. The I-it relationship, that which objectifies the world around us and breaks everything into smaller boxes, it allows us to imagine a material world and people as objects. The I-thou frame of mind, however, opens us up to the possibility that we are part of a greater system, a greater fellowship of living things, and that we are interconnected. That is why this space today, where we are held in, this room, the building around us, it is more than an auditorium. It is a living and vibrating environment. And if we simply put ourselves into that frame of mind, Buber tells us, just thinking that way, we are reminding ourselves and each other of this greater calling and our greater shared purpose. See, I think this is actually architecture's great humanistic offering. The sense of awe that we feel, the wonder, is a reminder that we're part of things greater than ourselves. Many architects in this room work on this, but Marlon Blackwell and Jonathan Tate are some of my favorites. They're here with us and can talk about how spaces make us human. Okay, I just want to mention another vibration. I found out even in just editing these remarks this morning, that is this very day, April 16th, 1963, this day, 63 years ago, that Dr. Martin Luther King wrote his letter from a Birmingham jail, in isolation, imprisoned, and often forced by the imposing space around him to write. One of our topics today will debate the space of incarceration and the designer's role and complicity in this, so I'm excited for Andrea Armstrong and Ari Hoidel to join us. But King was saying something else. He was saying spaces shape behavior. His letter from the Birmingham jail used Martin Buber's I-thou theory to make his foundational point. His argument was, of course, to end racial segregation and to resist the daily objectification of ourselves and our neighbors. To inhabit thou was to see the ways in which we share in each other's pain and how we are connected to each other's words through love. And he said it in this amazing way. He wrote, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." The artist Hank Willis Thomas, whose work I think many more than others exemplifies and lives this truth of the inescapable network of mutuality, will be with us at the end of the day. This is our work together in Boston about Dr. King and Coretta. But I like thinking about this garment of destiny. It's something I want you all to hold today. Garment of destiny, G-O-D. It is a spatial thing, he's saying. It is an interwoven fabric, a quilt, a binding net that we inhabit the higher purpose of our lives. I like to ask how an architecture around us can become a mutuality network, or how the buildings around you are garments that shape our lives. I, thou, that vibration between me and we. This is, I think, why we've spent the time to gather today. It's what I hope we walk away with, a reminder of all the ways in which we can actually start to witness the garment of destiny in our everyday lives and in our everyday spaces. If you can see it in the buildings around you, we can be reminded of what connects us and what we can do better to improve that connection. It talks about offering this in generational time. The artist and activist B. Mike summed this up to me once. He said, he made a tagline from an email he once received. He said, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams," speaking to generations long to come. You'll hear from him also later today. So we together in this room, we seek to speak in that garment of destiny in generational time. I hope you'll join me in that. So I hope today you can hold that vibration in your purview, the resonance, not the dissonance, the personal and the planetary, the intimate and the infinite, our world in design. It is, of course, designed in multiplicity of ways, but when we learn to see it, we acquire agency over it, and we see ourselves part of something greater than our unique, boxed, solitary condition. So today's agenda is organized this way, in the scales of design intervention, from the planetary to the city, to the neighborhood, to the building, to the body, and to the mind. Each panel is organized around a different scale of design intervention, and each panel is full of speakers thinking deeply, emotionally, and fully on how to shape the world around us to improve us now and well into the life of our next generation. With that, I want to introduce some designers of entire cities. We have some very special guests starting us off this morning. I'm so grateful they're here. The former mayor of Atlanta, Shirley Franklin, is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. I couldn't think of anyone better to start our day here in the city. My friend and someone I respect so greatly, Commissioner of Harris County, Texas, of Houston, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, and Jeffrey Williams, an urban designer from Perkins and Will, who has been working on the Beltline project for almost 20 years. The Beltline, for those who don't know, is one of the most visionary public works projects in America. So excited to share that as well. To moderate the panel, I want to introduce one of the best systems artists that I know. He's held many positions, from the city administrator of Washington, D.C. He held the position of the general manager of the D.C. MTA, to managing the largest real estate portfolio of the federal government as head of the General Services Administration under President Obama. Dan Tangerlini is now managing director of Emerson Collective and founding partner of Overstory Works, a new initiative that will transform the way we build, finance, and share the built environment. He's also my mentor and friend, and as I tell him, the kind of person my father would have loved to be friends with, if not the career he long coveted to have. So to all of you, thank you deeply for spending time with us today. Your time is precious and meaningful, and my hope after this is that we not only share the day, but we build the things we need from the memory of this interaction and the things we aspire to build together in partnership and collaboration. Everyone has a story of how a building or a space shaped them, and I realize we just need to ask them to share that story a little more frequently, so I hope we do that today. Today we have an opportunity to hear some of those stories, hear your story, and today is the beginning of a new story.